Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome, Ben. How's things?
Oh, yeah, good bro. Good bro. How are you?
Doing very, very well. Guys, I wanted to make a client case study video with a good student of mine, Ben, or a good client, I like to kind of refer to him as. Um, Ben's been crushing it. He's been doing so, so well in such a short amount of time. And again, I just wanted to really share his story with you guys because I think it's really inspiring considering he's achieved more than I have, way faster than I ever could. I think he's only been in this space for about 6 months now.
Yeah, 6 months, but just over 5 months.
Insane, dude. Ben has achieved, I think, what I wanted to achieve in, I don't know, a quarter, 20% of the time it took me to achieve. So it's been really, really cool. So I really want to break down Ben's story and I guess where he's been, where he's come from, and things like that. But long story short, last month you hit 10K, was it 10.5K in commissions last month?
8, 10.8, yeah.
10.8, just an actual 300, no worries.
Yeah.
Okay, that's insane, dude. That's super, super cool. We're gonna dive into that for sure. But I think just to give the guys a bit of background about you and just to learn about your background and your past, tell
Mhm.
us about before you met me, man. Like what were you doing? Like what type of business models did you try making money online? Let's get all the sauce.
Yeah, sure. So I guess I left school 2022 May sort of time. And then straight after I left school, I had a place at uni at Leeds University, which is actually a
Mm,
pretty decent uni. Um, and obviously, when you're at school, all your teachers are like, go to university. It's kind of like the
yeah.
only thing you can do. But I kind of knew like I wanted to do something else. And anyway, long story short, I worked from May till December, and then I left to go traveling. I went to South America for 4 months with a couple of my mates. And when I was out there, basically, I just realized like I definitely do not want to go back to university or start university. I don't want to go back and kind of go back into the school kind of routine. That wasn't something I wanted to do. I wanted to travel. I wanted to, yeah, just travel the world and try and make money that way. So I came back and basically came back in May. So I had till September was when I was meant to start uni. So I was like, right,
Mm,
I need to make something work. I've got to get something else so I can say to like my parents, my family, my friends, like, look, I'm not going to university. This is what I'm doing. So at the time I was working at a hotel. So I kept working at the hotel. So I was working before I went traveling, started up again when I came back. And then I was basically obviously looking online, like most people, trying to how to make money, like what to do, all these different business models. Anyway, at the time, I settled on FBA, Amazon FBA. So I
mm.
signed up to a course there. It was about £800, so like 1.6K Aussie. Anyway, I signed on to the course, and I kind of realized it's going to take, well, I realized two things. One, it's going to take a long time for me to actually start making decent money from this. And
Mm.
two, I realized, um, what else I realized? I realized it was going to be a lot of hard work as well, like
Yeah.
almost too much hard work, like not worth it hard work. Like,
Uh,
speaking to Amazon, trying to start your business, doing all these things that take time and they're not fun. You're not really learning a skill. You're just like following steps.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
realized that, and the fact that, I'm not going to be able to make enough money or the amount of money I want to be able to travel the world. Like, you know, with one product on Amazon, you can maybe make like, a grand a month or something like that. So anyway,
Yeah.
I started working on that. Got to, I basically ordered a product, sent it over to the UK. Again, it takes like 2.5 months to arrive, so it's just delaying even
Wow.
more. Yeah, I know. It's honestly, it took ages. Anyway, and at that point, it was August, and I kind of realized, right, I'm not going to even begin to start selling on Amazon till October, and I'm not going to be
Mm,
able to make enough money to live off. So I was like, right, I need to find something else. So I started looking at other things. At first, I actually didn't I didn't come across you with high ticket
mm.
sales. I came across someone else. I don't know if you remember. We were chatting about it. Anyway, I
Oh, yes.
well,
Yes, I do. I do remember that. Yeah. Yeah, I do.
I jumped on a call with this other company that I'm not going to name.
Yeah,
But
no
anyway,
need for that. That's
I
easy.
had a sales call with this guy. We were talking about it. Obviously, like the idea of high ticket sales still really appealed to me. So I was like,
Mm,
I'll see what these guys are about. jumped on the call. Anyway, the closure on the call just pushed me way too much at the end. I
Yeah.
didn't actually even have the money at the time, and he kept going. It really put me off him.
Yeah.
And of course, and then I just randomly came across you on YouTube. I was watching one of his videos, and you were kind of on the recommended. So I was like, okay, why not? I'll just click on this video and see. And it was your like story with how you got into it,
Mm.
everything to do that, how you're working before like a 9 to 5, and then yeah. Anyway, I watched that video and I guess I really resonated with it. I was kind of like, this guy seems really legit. And to be
Yeah.
honest, at the time, I guess it sounds kind of bad, but you didn't have like loads of subscribers, but that kind
Yeah.
of made you more authentic to me. I was like,
Yeah.
shit, this guy doesn't have loads of subscribers. Like your story seems really authentic. You're still pretty young. I was like, okay, I
Yeah.
feel like I can trust this guy.
I
So
get that a
I
lot.
yeah, yeah. I messaged you on Instagram, I think, and I was like,
Mm.
ask you some questions. I think we talked a bit about Amazon.
Yeah.
And then I said to you, I was like, look, I'm looking at this other course. I'm looking at your course. Like, why should I join yours? Anyway, we spoke, you got me in touch with a member who had done both. Anyway, it
Yeah.
really helped me out because it kind of made me realize this other program that I was potentially going to do was, I guess, like a marketer's course, as you would call it.
I actually remember that very distinctly. Almost with that training program. I have I don't know how many students, man. I have at least four people from that training program. But
Really?
any time anybody says like I'm considering doing this versus you, like what do you think? I go, no, no, no. Like, and every time I can put someone in touch with someone inside the RSA that's like, don't
Yeah,
do that.
exactly.
Like, please
And at
don't do
that
that.
point, that point, I was like, okay, I'm not just hearing it from you, I'm actually hearing it from someone who's done both. So I was pretty much
Yeah, yeah,
sold. And then at that point, I booked in a call, and I don't know if you remember, but I was pretty much sold already before we
yeah,
jumped on. I already knew I wanted to go ahead with it. And that was the 16th of August, I think, 15th, 16th of August.
yeah.
Yeah, that was basically how I came across you, and from start to finish of thinking about making money online to then joining the course.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. And I'm super curious with all the Amazon stuff because when we spoke together, I was like, oh yeah, like I think this is kind of on the roll here. Have you just kind of put that to the side and gone full time on this, or like what does that look like?
To be fair, the Amazon stuff it's working for me. Like I'm making a bit of money from it, but it's not enough. It's not enough money. Like for instance, I'm probably making around a grand UK or 2,000 Aussie a month,
Mm.
which it's not bad, but it's like
Oh,
the amount of work I had to put in, all the admin as well. If I had to go back, I wouldn't have done it. I would have just gone straight in with sales. But at the same time, I can't shit on it too much because I'm still like
no,
doing
of
okay.
course not.
So it's
Yeah,
kind of like.
100%. Yeah,
Classic,
I
but
think that, yeah, I think the biggest thing with that, what I found, bro, is that versus learning a skill, and of course, this is going to sound biased, but obviously you can share your opinion and perspective as well on this. But if you just have a business that you do and it doesn't work, or it takes a long time to work, like you mentioned, you just have the steps and then they're lost. Like that's it. You kind of get a few soft skills out of it, but nothing really. But whereas if you're in sales, once you learn to get good at it, it doesn't just disappear magically. And if you can walk into any business and say, hey, dude, I can get you lots of money. Do you want to pay me lots of money to do that? They go, yeah, I would like you to do that for me. But what are your thoughts on that?
no, I think I definitely agree because the thing is, like, I'm just selling one product at the moment, but if there's a trend and it goes out of trend or people don't want it anymore, then I'm kind of screwed. And as well, there's much more risk with it because, for instance, if you order loads of stock and your product's not selling, then you've got loads of idle stock. And I ended up spending basically all the money I had on the stock at the time. So if it
Mm.
had gone, I would have been completely screwed. So it's definitely riskier as well. But yeah, I agree. You're basically watching a guy click loads of buttons and you're just copying what he's doing to set up the business and find a designer and everything. So you're not actually learning anything yourself. You're just basically the middleman doing all that kind of stuff, which again, like you said, it's not really a skill.
Yeah, 100%. And look, all of these business models have pros and cons to them. Like,
Yeah,
not the grass isn't green on every single side. Yes, with sales, you have to spend a lot of time on sales calls, but do you
yeah,
make a lot of money? Yeah, you do. which we're
Yeah.
going to dive into that here in a second. But I'm super curious, man. Like, what were your, because like you never thought you were going to get into sales ever, right? I'd assume.
No, no, I didn't even literally had no idea it was the thing. Just saw literally an ad just popped up on my Instagram one day, and I was like, right,
Hmm.
traveling, being able to travel, work abroad. I was like, this sounds like something I'd be interested in.
Yeah, because I talk about this all the time. Like, I never during high school considered to be a salesperson. Like, no one says that during high school or even thinks about it. And I think a lot of people have these weird beliefs or perceptions around salespeople because people watch like Wolf on Wall Street and they go, oh, like boiler room salesman, you have to pressure people just like you got pressured on that sales call that you had with other, I guess, training company. Like it gives the wrong impression on the sales industry. And I
Yeah,
think a lot of people have this false perception of like what sales is actually like. You know how I sell, you know how you
yeah,
sell. It's pretty
exactly.
relaxed, isn't it?
That is very relaxed. Yeah. And the thing is like you just got to remember you are actually helping people. Like with the course that I'm selling on at the moment,
Mhm.
that I've been selling on for like 4 months. I've had people message me after I've closed them. I always say to them, you know, feel free to reach out to me if you need any help with anything. And I've had people message me and show them basically I'm on an e-com offer and they'll basically show me their results and they'll be like, you know, thank you pretty much for I guess telling me about it and trying, you know, not pushing me, but making me see that, you know, this is something that can actually benefit me.
100%, dude. Like there is nothing cooler because I get messages. I used to sell an offer that was helping people create their marketing agency in Australia. And in my belief, it had one of the coolest fulfillment and delivery in the country, really. It was really good at what they do. I still have people message me years later
Really?
going, dude, thanks so much. Like I'm at 30K a month. Dude, thanks so much. I'm at 40, I'm at 20K a month. I'm at 15K a month. Like I'm just crushing it.
Yeah.
And it gives you the capacity, like you mentioned, to help people without having to run your own business or doing the fulfillment in the first place.
Yeah.
All your job is to do is to guide someone to a decision ultimately that will put them in the best position to be successful. Like that's it. Like you've seen a lot of my objection handling in general. Like it is very calm. It's very neutral.
Yeah.
I'm not at you in your face trying to box you because you know that doesn't work, right? You don't do that in your calls, do you?
No, no, of course not. No, 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 it definitely doesn't work. And you know, we've seen, well, I saw firsthand with that guy that it's not gonna, and I definitely
Yeah.
learned from him as well because now I
Yep.
know if you're if someone does not, like, because the thing is, I was actually really interested in that program,
Yep.
and I feel like if he actually didn't push me, maybe it worked out in the end that he did because then I ended up not wanting to. But if he hadn't have
Mm.
pushed me so much, then you know, who knows? Like, yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I find that always pushes people away. And you always want to take that step back because it always comes back to you can't force someone to say yes. You just can't do that. Like, no matter how much we like to pretend that we can, the words that
yeah,
come out of our face, we can pretend like we're magicians, but that's not the case, unfortunately. I like to think of myself like that sometimes, but that's not simply the case, unfortunately.
no,
Um,
no.
but yeah, like let's talk about your current offer, man, because I remember you sent me a message and you're like, dude, I'm like talking to this guy, he's like gonna get me over, he's like gonna be travel. Like tell me about that experience, man. Like tell us all about that.
Yeah, so should I go into details like how I landed the role and everything?
Go deep into it, man. I reckon the guys would love to see it.
Yeah, for sure. So I was obviously doing the networking stuff that you teach us, and then I actually saw a post by Matt. Actually, it was by Matt. He put it in the community. He was like, "Look, guys, I've sent these looms videos on Instagram to people. Like, you know, this is what to say. Here's an example. Like, I feel like this could definitely be beneficial." So I spoke to him a bit about it. We kind of, well, I don't know actually if we did talk about it at the time, but I spoke with some other guys as well and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna do it. So what I thought was, I'll go on your Instagram, and I kind of went through the people you were following, and I was like, hey, you know, these people might know you. Maybe if I mention you,
Mm,
maybe. You know, I was just kind of trying to think outside the box and do what Matt had kind of told me.
mm,
Um, so then I was sending videos, kind of talking a bit about me, a bit about my experience. Well, I didn't have loads of experience, but I want to talk a bit about it, more about me though as a person and kind of what I'd done in my life that could help benefit like a sales team.
Mm.
Anyway, I sent loads out, was just trying to do as much volume as possible. And then I sent it to this guy. Um, at the time, he actually messaged me back and was like, "Look, we're not looking for closers at the moment, but really good video. Like, I really appreciate you sending it. I'm gonna write your name down, and when we're looking for more, I'll reach out." And then like 3, 4 weeks went by, and then he dropped me a message on Instagram and was like, "Here's a link to a type form to fill out for a potential interview. I had your name down as someone who potentially might want to work for us."
Mm.
And then I filled that out, hopped on an interview with the guy. We spoke for like an hour. It was a really chill interview, just chatting about hobbies and obviously about sales as well.
Yeah.
And then I think I messaged you as well. I was like, "Do you know this guy?" Like, because I knew you followed him, but you didn't know him.
Yeah.
Anyway, it didn't matter. He was a really sound guy, and ended up landing the role. And then um, can't even can't even remember. It was obviously to begin with. I was just trying to get the ropes on everything and understand it. And then
Mm.
ever since then, it's just been scaling up. The better I've understood the offer, my sales skills have obviously improved. Like the more calls I'm taking, and then just bit by bit, the commissions were just getting higher and higher. The more I was working, the more calls I was taking, and then yeah, it got me in a position to get that big commission month last month.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, dude. And I think that's the really cool thing about sales is the better you get, the more you get paid because it's a meritocracy. The more
Yeah.
results you bring to the table, the more you get paid. You don't really find that in many careers in general that I'm aware of. And so the cool thing is you get better at sales over time. So the longer time you invest into the skill within itself, like you're at 10K a month now. Just for reference, guys, I'm not sure if I mentioned before, Ben's only 20 years old, right? So very, very young, which is super, super cool. I'm 23. I'm old now, but 20 years old is an amazing milestone, man, to achieve what you've achieved. Because the thing that most people don't really understand is that if you stick with this just for 2 years, right, maybe 3 years, let's say you're 21 at that point, 22, you will have built a skill to where I'm very confident that you would never make less than 25K a month at that point because the better you get over time is just through repetition, like you mentioned. The more calls you have, the more you learn, and you develop what's called sales IQ, which is like just frequency of conversation and frequency of dialogue. And you're getting there, man. Like if this is where you're at now, to imagine where you'll be in a year or two's time is just insane.
Yeah, it's pretty mad as well because, like, obviously when I joined the first, you're doing the outreach, trying to land the roles. So it wasn't until, so I joined probably middle of August. Yeah, middle of August. And then I landed the role, I think, right at the end of September or the start of October. So,
Hmm.
minus a month of that, like within 4 months of learning a skill, like actually taking calls, managed to get myself in a position to make that money. And it's like, you look at like any other job, it's just, it's crazy. You've got to spend years to even get a promotion of like $1,000 or something like that. So yeah. And the thing is as well, like even when I tell people about kind of what I do now, I'll say to them, for example, I speak to my football coach about it. I was like, "Yeah, I do online sales," and he was like, "Oh, really? Is it just commission or is it salary as well?" And I was like, "Oh, it's just commission." He was like, "Oh, that's a tough one." And I really wanted to just turn around to him. But I didn't anyway. But yeah, like people don't understand that if you actually do get good and you just have that frequency like we talked about, then you can get yourself in a position within 4 months where you can go from pretty much from making nothing to like 10K a month, which is pretty bonkers.
That's absolutely bonkers. Is that a UK word?
Yeah, that is, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a very
I haven't,
British one. Yeah.
I haven't heard that in a while. Yeah. No, that's cool because like the thing is with that just in general, like it's so hard to communicate this to the everyday person because it's such a new world. Like the coaching space, just in general, like it's only been around since like 2016 or thereabouts, like actually really there. Like we think back all the way back to Ty Lopez. Do you know him?
No.
Ty Lopez is like the Here in My Garage meme ad. Like this very, very popular thing. It was back in 2016. And he kind of sparked this whole wave of the online education market. And that's kind of where we are now, just many years into progression, but it's such a market if in its infancy. And because as we know, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, right? There are offers out there that aren't the best at delivery, aren't the best at marketing. They'll tell you that they want to give you the world and doesn't end up being that way. Because I want to talk about that just briefly, because I know you worked an offer just like briefly before you transitioned to this one. Do you want to talk about your experience there? Because I want to give guys the insight to not just the good, but also the bad as well.
Yeah, for sure. So it was, I actually landed a role like very, very quickly, but the only problem with it was one that I found it on Facebook, which is never a good start.
No.
And then the guy I was working for, it was a marketing agency that worked with like MMA gyms and stuff. He was a really, really nice owner, like nothing bad to say about him, but it was very, again, it was in its infancy, the business, like they weren't even running ads yet. So for
Yeah.
me, I was closing and setting. I was DMing people all day on my phone. I was on Instagram on my laptop, Facebook on my laptop, just sending these messages, getting, horrible responses from people,
Yeah.
off everything, which
Don't
was
talk to me. Get away.
which was interesting.
Yeah.
But anyway, I had two sales calls with my first kind of company. Managed to close one, which was cool, which was nice. But
Yeah.
again, it was like I realized straight away, I was like, this is not something I want to be doing long term. Like I need to focus on networking and try and land something else.
Mm.
And so I basically stopped doing that pretty soon after I made that close. And then I started with another marketing agency, which was actually a much bigger one in America. But I was working like American hours, so I was working from like 3 p.m. my time till like midnight 1 p.m. In the UK, which wasn't ideal. And I wasn't closing. I was just setting, so I was lots of cold calling. Again, you get, especially Americans, they don't like it when you call them and they're not
No, they
expecting
don't. No, they
it.
don't.
Which was quite, to be honest, it was quite funny, but again, it was quite disheartening. And
Yeah.
then luckily, I basically landed that role, and then I did it for probably like a week, and then I landed the role with the company I'm with now. And then I did them both for a bit of time because obviously I wanted to, make sure it was legit, make sure it was good, and then I pretty soon realized I wanted to like this offer was way better. So I stopped doing the other one. But yeah, no, I definitely had a couple, my fair share of, eating shit to begin with before I landed a good role.
Yeah, like we all have our false starts, man. And I think that's the biggest thing that prevents people from actually like being successful, not just high ticket sales, but any model, is you're gonna have a few false starts. Maybe you get scammed somewhere. Maybe someone takes your money. Like I spent $1,500 in crypto to a YouTube channel. What an idiot. Like, what was I thinking? Like, obviously, I shouldn't have just given him crypto. Like, yeah, I don't know. We all make
Yeah.
mistakes. Like, it all happens. When I first started, I had bad offers, but to be fair, I don't really know what I was meant to be doing. And I had no idea what you were doing either, because you just kind of like disappeared, did your own thing, came back, and you're like, oh, dude, I'm traveling the world now. I was like, what?
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, what's going on?
Yeah, no, I know I hadn't like been on calls for a while because I was just like focusing mainly on the closing and just trying to level up.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it went pretty from like 0 to 100 pretty quick,
Yeah.
with everything because they started upping their marketing as well, like pretty soon after I joined. So I was getting loads of calls, which was really good. But yeah, then the guy, so I was chatting to Connor before, and I just got back. I went to meet the co-founder of the offer that I'm on, and one of the other closers. And we went to Madrid in Spain, and then traveled around a bit. Went to Barcelona, then went up to Hamburg in Germany. It's just like a 2.5 week trip, which was really cool. And it was like my first experience of like working or like closing abroad as well.
Mm.
So it was really cool to do that because obviously that was like my main motivation from the start.
Yeah, dude, like what was it like, spending time with super successful people traveling the world? Like just for reference, Ben basically got invited because he was working on the team to travel the world with really successful guys, successful ecom founders. Like what was that like, man? Like tell us about like what is like being in person with real people, making money online. Like what was that like?
Yeah. Yeah, I was pretty nervous to begin with about them
Yeah.
because I was these people are like really successful. I've got to like set a good impression with them.
Mm.
But yeah, no, it was really cool. It was really cool to meet guys. We were like going out for lunches and dinners and stuff, like talking to them about kind of their story was with everything, kind of realizing as well that everyone goes through like bad times. Like the owner of the one of the co-founders, sorry, of the offer is, or the guy I met, Will. He he was saying that he flew to Dubai from Australia with basically barely any money in his bank account. He was like, right, I have to make this work, and met the two other co-founders there, and they managed to make it work. They built the business from there, and then ever since then it's just been uphill. So it was really interesting hearing those stories and kind of learning from him. And hopefully, like from here, I'll go and see them again somewhere else in the world later this year, which would be cool. But yeah, no, it was pretty surreal to be with him, someone who's like you said, is really really successful.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. Because I remember the first time I met pretty much one of the first people that I met in Make Money Online, which is my mentor. He's a
Yeah,
multimillionaire. He's living in Paris. He's crushing. He's doing his whole thing. But I remember when I met him for the first time in person, and I was so nervous. I was like,
yeah,
"What's going on?" I was like,
yeah,
am I gonna get trafficked or something? I don't know. Like it's a whole very nerve-wracking thing because you go from this online world where you're talking to people through the screen and then you actually see people in person and you conceptualize how real everything is. And like you said before, it shatters so many beliefs
yeah,
because you see ultra successful people that are years ahead of you and you realize that they're just like you. They're just
yeah,
real people. Like we
yeah,
place these like people, people like myself as well. Like I've only got like less than 1,000 subscribers and not a celebrity, but some people put myself on a pedestal and I try to show as much as possible that I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. No one's
yeah.
perfect.
No,
And
definitely.
these people who make millions of dollars online are not perfect either. They've made
Mm,
mistakes. They've done wrong things. They've failed a tons of times. I think, like, I was talking to Cash about this earlier, and, he said the same thing that I basically was talking about now, is that he was able to spend time with a friend of mine who's like a multi-seven-figure entrepreneur in Australia. And
yeah,
I basically just mentioned, he's like, it's crazy how real that this is. Like, I just realized that James is just another guy like me. And like, it's so inspiring to see people play at that level because it shatters so many beliefs for you of like what's
yeah.
actually possible. What
Mm.
do you think?
No, definitely. And they're not what you think. You think of them as these people who are like, super serious, but in reality, they're just, the two guys I met, they're really decent blokes, like very similar to me, very similar humor. But then before you meet them, right, I need to set a good impression here. I need to be up early to get on my calls and everything. But obviously, you still want to do that. But they're very chill, very, very, very nice guys, and you don't need to put them on that pedestal for sure.
I mean, it also adds to it that because they're Australian though, because they're like
Yeah, true. True.
Australian are
Very laid
pretty
back.
laid back culture. They're very,
No,
very similar to Irish people as well.
yeah, and I think British and Aussie humor is quite aligned as well. Well, I know it's definitely aligned from the past couple weeks.
It's very similar. So, I mean, what was the time length and duration that you've actually been traveling? I know you're home now, but like, how long were you away for?
To be honest, it wasn't too long. It was about 2.5 weeks that I went away for. But potentially got plans to. So the guys are flying out to live in Dubai in February. So I potentially might go out and stay with them for a bit there, which would be cool. And then obviously, the guys in the RSA, a lot of them are going to all live together in Thailand, and
Yeah, yeah.
there's loads of RSA guys just dotted around Asia. So I want to definitely go out there as well and meet all of them because that's something else that like I've loved about the RSA is the boys I've met, it's so good having a group of people who have very, very similar mindsets to you because chances are, I know for me, like I love my friends at home, but it's a
Hmm.
very they all go to university. Like it's I don't really talk to them about this kind of stuff because it's not really, it's not what they do. Whilst with the RSA, you've got a group of 100 lads who are all well and girls who are all kind of pushing towards the same goal and having
Mm.
that jumping on Zoom calls with them. Like I remember at the start jumping on calls with all the guys, and we were first meeting and everyone was pushing each other. We were talking about the offers we potentially landing, how much money we were making, and it just having those people there, just you're leveling each other up. You're always pushing each other, and I definitely think that had a massive part to play in like being able to get in a position to actually start making pretty good money for sure.
100%. And I think I feel very blessed and lucky to provide that space for you and other guys because when I first started doing this, I was like by myself. As much as there was like people here and there wasn't really anyone who I felt was as serious as me in
Yeah,
general. Like there's, as you've probably seen, a lot of people inside the RSA that are dead serious about crushing it, right? They're every day in the trenches, working really hard and having those connections. Because I think like Rahul, which you guys will see Rahul on the YouTube channel pretty soon. Rahul was just like, yeah, man, like I've made some friends for life here. This is insane. Like you mentioned, like they're all moving to Thailand into like a sales house. I think it was like Richard, Rahul,
yeah, Jonas.
Kashi, Jonas as well. And there's a few other guys are located there
I
as
think
well.
think Peter and me are potentially going to go out as well at the same time, which would be fun. But yeah, no, I remember like Rahul, me and Rahul literally joined at the same time, and Jonas as well, and we all like I was jumping on loads of calls with Rahul, doing loads of role plays with him. So it's cool that we've everyone's leveling up together because we've all kind of been there from the start.
Yeah, I mean that's so important, man, because when I did it on my own, like it was like a year and a half of like pure isolation because it's the exact same scenario that played out, like you mentioned with your coach.
Mm,
Literally nobody believed in what I was doing. Like nobody got it because the conversation you're having is a different language, right?
yeah,
If you walk up to someone on the street and you tell them that you make a couple $100 for spending an hour on the phone with somebody, they'll tell you you're crazy, no matter what
yeah,
country you're in. Like it's just like, what do you mean, man? Like, are you lying? Like,
yeah,
are you a liar? Like it's actually insane. Like I remember at work. I may have talked about this before, but not. But I think I just talked to a coworker when I was working in retail, just even slightly about what I was doing. And then I had like two or three other people. I think it's funny now. It wasn't funny at the time, but they were like, "Oh, hey, dude, how's your pyramid scheme going? How's your MLM going?" And I'm
God.
just like, I was like,
I
dude,
get that so much, the
it's
pyramid scheme stuff. It's just like,
yeah,
oh, like I just can't be asked. I'll just laugh it off and be like, oh yeah, pyramid scheme, funny, and then just try and
yep,
get on with the conversation. But it's kind of
every
sad,
time.
to like speak to your mates and your family about it because they just don't get it. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
no,
I
100%.
once the money's coming in at that point they're like, oh shit, like this actually does work. So yeah.
I mean, even then, people still struggle to believe it,
Mm,
because
yeah.
it's so foreign, and that's like why, I wanted to get you on. I get all the other guys on that are crushing it because, again, the more people see your story in length and what you're really like, and can see that you're a real person, can see that I'm a real person, the more people I can get to believe that this actually works because it is a really hard process to go from someone who's worked a normal job their entire life, told that you can only get a 9 to 5, that you have to go to university to make a lot of money. Like these are the beliefs that are instilled in us since we're kids and all through
Mm,
school. Like,
yeah.
do you remember like what you were going to even try and study at university?
Yeah, I was gonna do business studies. And then I kind of knew from the start, I was like, I know I don't want to do this. But you've got, no one else is not going to go to university. Like even obviously in September when I said to everyone, when I said to my family, to my friends, like, I'm not going. They're all just like, what are you going to do? What's your plans? It's like, oh, I wanna do online sales. And they're like, what? Online sales? What's that? And then you're like, oh yeah, you can make money doing this, and they're like, oh no, no, you can't. That can't be right. And
Yep.
again, like when you're meeting up with your friends and you go in and you speak to their parents, and they're like, oh, so what university are you at? And it's like, no, I'm not at university, and it's just such a foreign concept to so many people. So Yeah, no, it's yeah, you're right. It's good to be able to show people that, it does actually work, and you can make it happen.
100%. I mean, I share that guilt too because I guess you might have come to people and say like, "What, you're not going to university? Like, what's wrong with you?" Like that. Like I get that attitude all the time.
I literally
Um,
got time.
but what was even worse for me is I felt super guilty, man, because I had my parents, bless them, they had put away money into an investment fund for like years. They got all their money back that they invested, but I think they put enough into an investment fund, so I had 25 to $30,000, and all I had to do was just sitting there for me. All I had to do was study for a year, uh, I guess further education, like university in Australia, or what we call
Yeah.
as like TAFE. And if I did that, I would have got paid that money, and I literally chose not to.
Mm.
And I felt incredibly guilty. Like I was like, I have to make this work because if I don't, I'm going to look like the biggest clown ever, and it's going to be incredibly embarrassing. So that was my motivation, at least.
The thing is, yeah, very similar to me. It really gets you motivated though, because I remember
Yeah.
for me, I was like, I want to get to Christmas and all my friends come back from uni, and I want to be in a position where like I'm crushing it. I'm making really good money. So I can like say to people, they'll be like, "Oh, so how's everything going? What are you doing? You're not at university." And I can just be like, "Look, I'm doing this, and I'm potentially making this amount of money." That was like the aim for me. Because I just didn't want to, because before I was working at the hotel, and like my worst nightmare was for to go from September to December and get round to December and be still working there and be speaking to all my friends, and everyone's just looking at me like, "Oh, you've messed up here. Like, what have you done?" Like all of this kind of stuff. So yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
when I guess when you burn the boats, it really does push you, and you have to make it work.
Yeah, 100%. And I want to touch on this thing as well because I don't think, because like it hasn't really settled in for me correctly. It hasn't in like the past couple of months really, and I've been in the game for a long time now. But it's like it's not only the monetary thing, but how does it feel to not have to go into a physical workplace, not have a boss that's like kind of over your shoulder being like, "Hey dude, what are you doing? Like you can't take holidays, this, that, and another thing. You can travel where you want." What does that feel like?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. Again, I feel like it hasn't like properly sunk in for me yet that
Yeah.
this is happening. I feel like when all my friends finish university and they're all getting into 9 to 5s, I think at that point it would be like, yes, like I definitely did the right thing. But yeah, I feel like I was working at the hotel. I actually went back for a shift just in Christmas, just for fun, just to see everyone. One shift I worked, one shift at the end of it, I was like, oh my God, that was horrific. Like I can never do that again. Like I'm so glad I'm not doing that anymore. But yeah, I feel like it still hasn't properly sunk in. But I guess being traveling and being able to make money whilst I travel, like on those 2.5 weeks, I didn't actually lose money because I just made money from the closing. So it's like, it's a free holiday, and that's something I've never experienced before, which is
Yeah.
which is really, so I guess that was kind of pretty surreal experiencing that. Um so yeah, but I feel like once my friends and everyone my age starts to grow up and get into the 9 to 5s and jobs that they don't actually like, because at the moment for them, they're at university, they're drinking every night, they're enjoying it, but there will come a time where I'll be able to turn around and be like, yeah, I'm glad I did what I did.
100%, dude. And it will absolutely feel like that. And the cool thing is, it's not just the skill that you've unlocked. It's not just the location freedom and the freedom and flexibilities there, but it's also the belief as well. Because once you hit 10K a month, what I've found is it's very hard to go below that because you have like a financial threshold in your mind, at least what I found personally. And every
Yeah.
time you exceed that threshold, you just subconsciously, even if it dips down a month, you'll figure out a way to get back to 10 because you believe it's possible now. Like you've seen the light, you've taken
Got a
the
concept, yeah.
yeah, you've taken the red pill, right? You've already seen what's you can have. So it's like it's very hard to go back once you've gone to that level. So it's a very cool thing that at the conscious back of your mind, you know that you have a skill now that can generate over six figures a year,
Mm.
right? It's pretty insane feeling, I would say.
Yeah, no, that is pretty crazy. I haven't really, yeah, again, I don't think it's properly
It
like
hasn't
sunk
settled
in.
in. No,
No.
and it won't for a while, man. You know, things move very fast and can just exponentially grow really quickly. And that happens to me, that happened for me, and that still continues to happen for me. Reality, the RSA hasn't really set in yet and how well that's doing. Like everything happens really fast. Sometimes I think it's a really big thing that I tell most guys. It's just to really slow down and reflect like what has happened last year and like what you've
Mm.
achieved and what that actually looks like. Because again, for most 20-year-olds, they will never achieve the reality that you've achieved and they'll never see what you've seen, which is a pretty cool thing to think about.
Yeah, no, it is. And I think it's weird to think, I came back from traveling in May, and it's January now. It hasn't even been a year, and like so much has happened in that time. And
Mm.
I've learned so much in such a short period of time. And it's like shit, you realize like I'm only 20, like I've still got so many years to level up even more and work even harder and try new things. And yeah, it's weird because you kind of forget like you kind of forget like hanging around with the guys when I was traveling because they're a
Mm.
bit old, like they're both 28, and they were saying to me like, holy shit, like you're only 20. Like I remember when I was 20, like none of this was happening. I wasn't doing any of this.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to, you're right, kind of step back and be have a bit of a reality check and think like how far you've come with everything.
Yeah, because there's so much that you'll achieve, man. Like if you just stick with this for the next 2 years, like you'll never have to worry about money again the rest of your life. Long story short. Because my belief is that if you can sell, you know how to market yourself as a person correctly, any business is going to want to pay money. No matter what's happening in the world, someone always needs something to be sold. There always is going to be someone who needs more money, and you can be the middleman. That's exactly the whole goal of this. So
It's
it's such a good,
AI
good
proof as
belief
well.
system.
So I
What was
say
that, sorry?
it's AI proof sales.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, at some point, AI will, eventually get to that point, but it's got a long time before it does because it's
And there's
just that
plenty of
human to
other
human
things yeah, there's plenty of other things that will go before it. Like it's probably one of the last things that can be taken from by AI. So yeah, like you said, you've got years left.
many, many years, I would say.
Yeah.
I think it'll take a long time before I guess a human interaction like that can be replaced. I think to a degree, we're going to look in the future of like customer service even. There's things like air.ai. I've seen that. I remember I was playing it with a friend in Vietnam, like a demo, and I was like, holy shit, like this is insane. Like it's very freaky, but that's a whole nother can of worms. But what I want to kind of break down as well, man, for those of the people that have been watching me for a while and, really just kind of looking in the sidelines and been watching the YouTube channel, and what would you say your overall feedback has been from the RSA in general? How you felt about the community, the training, myself? Like, what's your overall feedback from I guess, your general experience?
Yeah. I think the thing is, I think the main thing for me was being able to meet the people, like I said earlier, meeting people, being able to go on Zoom calls with them all the time. You've got the chat funnel where you can basically message anyone. So as soon as you join, if you see, someone who lives in your area, you can directly message them and say, look, I live 10 minutes from you. Let's go meet up for a coffee and chat about something, or let's hop on a Zoom call. Like Rahul, for example, he was in Hong Kong. We messaged each other. We jumped on Zoom calls. We were practicing all the time. Like that's one side of it, which is really beneficial. Obviously, all the videos are amazing. You go through step by step, telling you exactly what to do, giving you scripts for objection handling, networking, which is obviously most important when trying to land a role as well. And again, like the way I landed my role was through another member giving me advice. So it's like that kind of just shows like it's not just you, it's the community you're making and the people inside that actually really provide the benefits of what you get when you join. And yeah, I mean, obviously the weekly calls as well, the live calls are really good. Jump on, ask any questions you want about anything, you'll be able to answer. Again, I think the thing I was most impressed with you was the fact that was the replies. The replies on the private DMs was
Yeah.
crazy. You know, you drop you a message, 10 minutes later, you've sent me a loom 3 minutes explaining exactly what I need to do or how to solve this problem I'm having. And I know for a fact that in other communities that doesn't happen. It takes days for mentors to reply or coaches to reply. So I think that again is probably one of the main things, the fact that you just get back to us within such a short period of time. Because I remember even chatting to Matt to go back to the other program I was going to join, and he was like,
Yeah.
yeah, the coach there took 3-4 days to reply to me every single time. And it's so hard to make any progress when you're getting feedback every 4 days. So yeah,
Yeah, 100%. And I'm grateful that you mentioned that because such a big thing of importance to me was that piece and element.
yeah,
Because how powerful is it to have someone one-to-one, the person you originally bought the training program for, that has achieved what you want to achieve and is just many years ahead of you? Like, how powerful is that? Just being able to just message that person directly, get a response same day, sometimes even a video response of like, hey, I'm having trouble with this analogy. Because you remember the Usain Bolt analogy or something like that? I helped you fix
yeah,
it up, or like the objection
yeah,
handling, and you're like, oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense. Like these
exactly.
things can save weeks, a month, couple months, up to a year. Like wrong offer, bad offer, good direction, wrong direction, things like that. And that's why I wanted to do it because, again, if I had access to someone like myself 5 years ago, I would have been, you know, your age and achieving similar results, right? But I just didn't have that right guidance, that right mentor. So I'm glad I've been able to provide that space for you, man.
Yeah, no,
Based
definitely.
off, you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, it's like, I can ask you. I remember asking you advice, obviously, on about actual sales, and then messaging you about when I landed the offer. I was like, what do you think I should do? Should I stay on the other offer? Should I quit it and head for this one? Just advice in that sense as well. Logistical advice, not only just advice about sales itself.
Yeah. And that only comes from experience. Like that literally only comes from experience. Like you have to live through the industry, you have to experience industry because the high ticket sales industry, the coaching education market, it's different than any other. As many people think it's just the same as any other job market. We know it's not, right?
Yeah,
Offers aren't always going to be the best. Some are going to work out, some aren't. And you need the right skills to be able to vet these opportunities, or you can waste up to a year, just like I did, on the wrong offer. It's really important that you have those skills in place. But I think for you, brother, to kind of tie this off here, for someone who's been sitting on the fence for a while now, maybe they're unsure about making money online, maybe they've been looking at the RSA for a while. Like, what would you say to someone who's just been kind of sitting on the fence for a while now?
I mean, I'd probably say like what other option do you have? Like you've obviously been looking for a while, like just take the leap with it. That was my thinking anyway. I was like, look, if I can either wait another 2-3 months and kind of make no progress, watch some of your YouTube videos when I'm not going to be getting the same value as I am if I'm in the RSA, or look at your Instagram at that. I can either do that and then just mull over the decision, or I can just say, you know what, I'm just gonna commit to this, put my everything into it. Because if you commit and you put in the time, you're pretty much guaranteed to get results eventually. Obviously, you'll go through some turmoil, like everyone does, like I did,
Yeah.
like Matt did, Cashy did, everyone does. But
Mm,
you'll be able to make it happen. So yeah, I just say don't overthink it. Just put the money in and go for it, because once that money's in, once you've made that investment, at that point, your back's against the wall. Like, you've burnt the ships. You have to make it work, and if you have to make it work, that's a really like powerful motivation to have. So yeah, that would be my advice.
100%, dude. Well, hey, look, thanks for jumping on. I
And
think
it was,
I think your story is going to inspire a lot of people, and that's my whole main goal with these interviews is to get as many people as possible to believe that this stuff actually works. Because the more people that seem as real like yourself, and as young as like yourself as well. I think it's going to inspire a lot of people as well. Just kind of take that leap and start looking at things further. And if that's what we can do with this interview, then that's perfect. But before we finish off, is there anything that you would like to tell everybody what you're working on, a main golden nugget? Like, is there anything you'd like to share with anyone?
Ooh, golden nugget.
Mm,
I'd probably say I kind of mentioned it when I did my post when I made 10K, but I think something that's really underrated is doing once you land a role, really learning the role inside and out, learning exactly, all the questions people are going to ask you because they're going to ask you questions. Obviously, I do e-com, I get loads of questions asked. To begin with, I didn't know the answers. So you have to learn your offer, maybe watch the videos that are on the offer, ask if you can get access to it, learn it inside and out. Because for me, I think once you learn the offer, you know people are getting results. Your conviction is so key, and I think that's obviously my skills have improved, my sales skills have improved, but the conviction I have now in the program that I'm selling is, next to nothing. Like I know it works, and I know all the answers. And when you can just spit facts off like that, when someone asks you a question on a call, they're way more likely to buy from you. So I guess that would be, a little golden nugget for when you land a role.
100%. That's a great tip, man. Because there's always that little informational phase and informational gaps you have when you start a new offer, whether it's e-commerce or whatever it is. You're going to get questions that are thrown at you. You may not know the answer. And sometimes, especially in the beginning, you can be known for the certain but unsure response that you just give them. And you're just like, yeah, so it's this, and this, and this, this, and this. It's always a funny story. But, anyways, I could talk about that for at least half an hour. So, we'll end the interview here, bro. Thanks for hopping on. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks, Ben.
Yes, bro. Cheers.